You've worked hard to build a dream retirement. Now it's time to put that plan into action. This is Retire ATL with Aaron Vincent and Matt Decker. The team at Vincent Financial wants to help you build, protect, and grow income to get you to and through retirement. Now, Retire ATL with Aaron Vincent and Matt Decker.
This is the Retire ATL podcast, all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. You can get more when you visit retireatlradio.com. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for downloading. Now, let's get to the show. My name is Mark Owens. All right, as we get started here, Aaron, Matt, want to give another good plug to the text line for the word seminar. A lot of people are taking advantage of this right now. So if people need more information about some of the great seminars across Metro Atlanta put on by the Vincent Financial Group, Matt, how can they do this?
Well, you can text our number. We've actually set it up so that you can text us. It's 770-741-0120, and just throw in the word seminar in there. We're going to be all over the North Atlanta metro area over the next coming months. And this isn't your typical, I hate to call it like a dog and pony show, but it's not your typical, steak dinner dog and pony show where you show up and the doors get locked behind you and you don't get out of there until you either book a meeting or buy something. Like, that's not what this is. And there's a lot of that goes on, and I'm sure some of our listeners have experienced that.
But that's after the timeshare conversation, right?
That's after.
We do that first.
Timeshare conversation first, and then
Vincent
educational
timeshares, then retirement planning.
Right. All the while, doors locked until you sign on the dotted line. No, it's not like that at
all.
all.
Turn the heat up, by the way, and you want some water? Hang on.
That's right.
A condo in Panama City.
Yeah, we hold the servers back. No water until bookings are confirmed.
Pollen. We pump in that green pollen dust in the windows while you're there.
That's right. No, we spend time talking about the three key pillars that we talk about on this show, which would be controlling your taxes, controlling your risk, and then determining your income stream. And it's a great event. People love it because no matter if you like us or hate us at the end, which no one really hates us, but we set it up so that you can leave there, and whether you decide to hire a professional or do it yourself, you can leave having learned something and be further on down the path of organizing your retirement in a way that makes sense. So, text the number 770-741-0120. We'll get you the dates and the times and the locations of our upcoming events, and hopefully one will fit your schedule.
I can't stress it enough. Education is important to us, to the point where if I go back, people often ask me, how did I get started in this business? And it's funny because when I was going through college and deciding what I wanted to do with my life, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know what I did not want to do, and that was be in the financial services world. And so it's ironic now. Now, the reason for that was there was this stigma, this idea of like smoke and mirrors and intimidation and talk over your head using industry jargon. And I was allergic to that to such an extent where I didn't even want to be in that industry, even though everyone who knew me knew this would be a good fit. So anyway, I spent 5+ years after college avoiding this call. And so now one of the things that's important to us is to be educating people on what's true and what's not true. Get through all the noise, get through all the headlines, get through all the stuff, what's actually true. And more times than not, people are like, hey, can we talk some more about this stuff? No. But whether or not that's you and you want to do that or not, doesn't matter. Still come to one of our events.
And they are a complimentary educational seminar from the team at the Vincent Financial Group. Again, you can text them right now, 770-741-0120. Just put in seminar, and if you spell it wrong, they'll understand what you mean as well. But shoot them a text. They'll get back in touch with you, let you know when some of the great seminars are happening close to you. All right, Matt, you said something before we got started this weekend, and you said, I want to talk about burying money in the ground, and then when you dig it up, you have more.
That's right.
All right. I like the way you paint that picture, but let's get into it.
It doesn't make sense, right? Bury money in the ground, and all of a sudden you end up with more when you dig it back up. And this actually stems from, let me just tell the story. So we showed up to one of our educational events a couple weeks ago, and there's a crowd waiting outside. And typically I'll show up like 10 minutes early. The rest of the team gets there, they set up the room, and they make sure that everybody's where they need to be. Mm-hmm. And then I show up maybe 10 minutes early. So I get there, and there's a crowd of people outside the venue, and they're just kind of standing there. And I see our team also standing there.
Vincent Financial groupies.
And I'm like, that's weird. Like, why is it was a beautiful day out. I'm like, maybe they're just all outside because it's a beautiful day and they want to watch the sunset. No. Totally locked out of the venue building.
Oh, no.
There's an all-day event at this particular location. I'm not going to name the names because that wouldn't be fair, but there's an all-day event going on at this place, like a training, and there's literally nobody there. No security guards, no police officers, no one with a key. We're completely locked out of the building. Now, we already had all of our stuff, all our materials in the building because we got there earlier that day, set up the room, left. When the team leaves, doors locked. So all of our materials are in the building. We're locked out. There's a crowd of people waiting for our educational event. I roll up and they're like, Matt, we got a problem. We can't get in the building. All of our materials are in the building and we're all just sitting outside in the sun. And I'm like, well, let's make the best of this. Are there some park benches nearby? And they're like, yeah, there's some benches over there in the shade. So we usher everyone over to these park benches. And I'm like, well, you all made the trek out here. So I'm going to do my best to give you as much as I can give you without any materials, without any visuals, without any handouts. This is going to be difficult. And so I've done these enough to where I kind of know I've got, they're puzzle pieces, right? And every night's a little bit different depending on who shows up and what they want to talk about. And I'm like, all right, well, what are the puzzle pieces that I can put into play here that require almost nothing? And one of them is a discussion on polarization. And so what we're talking about now came out of that event, actually. Me on the fly trying to figure out how to talk about polarization without any visuals. So polarization is your risky things are risky and your safe things are safe. It's like the sides of a battery. You have a positive and a negative side of the battery. Nothing's happening in the middle, right? It's all on the ends. And so I posed the question to this group of people sitting in the shade outside the locked out venue for our educational event. I said, hey, would you rather have a $2 million portfolio that is just all kind of moderately risky, or would you rather have a $1 million portfolio that is maybe a little bit more aggressive? And they thought about it, and I got all kinds of answers. And so I walked them through this visualization. I had them all pull out their calculators, and I showed them how to turn it into like the scientific mode. And we did a time value of money calculation, which is just like one of my favorite things to do because it shows you the power of interest over time. And so I said, all right, well, let's say that you got a $2 million portfolio, and I'm doing this on my calculator, so I don't have these numbers memorized. But right now, I'm doing it on my calculator. $2 million, let's say that you earn a 6% rate of return for 25 years. Okay, $2 million, you earn a 6% rate of return for 25 years. At the end of those 25 years, you're going to have $8.5 million. It's pretty crazy, right? 6% rate of return, 25 years, $8 million. 8.5, almost 8.6. And so I'm talking to this group and I'm like, that sounds great, right? Like who doesn't want $8.5 million? And I said, but see, that's how most people come into the office. When they come into the office for a second opinion, they give us their portfolio. And if you're nearing retirement, like if you're in that retirement window, you are probably coming in with some kind of mix of stocks and bonds, right? You don't have all your money invested in Bitcoin, which would be like the riskiest side of the spectrum. And you don't have all your money sitting in cash. You have a mix of things in the middle. Maybe you have some target date funds. You probably have some bond funds. And what that does is it kind of waters down the portfolio. Like you're not going to get huge rates of returns in a retirement portfolio. That's not what it's designed for. And so I said, okay, well, what if instead of having $2 million that's just all invested in the market, kind of moderately aggressive or even conservative, earning that 6% rate of return, what if we took $1 million and we buried it in the backyard? We're going to take $1 million of your $2 million. We're going to bury it in the backyard. And we're going to take $1 million and we're going to get aggressive with it. Okay? Because if we have $1 million buried in the backyard, rainy day fund, then we're not so worried about how aggressive we're being with the other half of the money. So instead of $2 million kind of trying to be a Swiss Army knife, not aggressive, not conservative, somewhat in the middle, 6% rate of return, let's take $1 million, let's bury it in the backyard, and then let's take $1 million and let's get aggressive with it. And I posed the question, like, what would aggressive look like? If 6% is moderate, what's the aggressive rate of return that we should use? And people are like, oh, let's use 10%, let's use 11%, 12%. And I'm like, okay, all fine. Let's just use 9%, a 9% rate of return on our $1 million.
Right.
And we did the exact same exercise. So we got $1 million. We're going to earn a 9% rate of return for 25 years. And at the end of those 25 years, we have $8.6 million. $8.5 million on the $2 million portfolio. versus 8.6 on the $1 million portfolio that earns a 9% rate of return instead of a 6% rate of return. Except we don't actually have 8.6. We have 9.6 because we still have $1 million buried in the backyard.
So you made more with less money.
You made more with less money and with less risk.
Yeah.
And with less risk.
Less risk.
And that's polarization. And nobody gets that right. We see probably 1,000 portfolios every single year between what we do here on the radio, what we do on TV.
Free second opinion,
portfolio
X-ray kind of thing.
We see around 1,000 portfolios a year, and we have for probably the last 8 to 10 years. And I can't think of a single person that has come into the office and was able to articulate polarization in a way that we would say, yeah, that's polarization.
And stick to it for a long period of time that is required for that compounding interest to actually compound.
Exactly.
Yeah. This all contrasted with what we've all been taught for the past, I don't know, call it 50 years, and that is the 60-40 portfolio.
Like
that's the benchmark, the gold standards, what everyone has done since, the 80s-ish. And so the problem with that is, it's like straddling two things with the same dollar. The whole point of 60-40 is like 60% of your portfolio or 60 cents of each dollar goes towards equities markets. So the stock market type stuff. The other 40 goes to the bond market. So the idea in theory is you've got the 60 in the equities that's supposed to outpace inflation and kind of grow over time. You have the 40 in bonds that's supposed to, in theory, grow with some dividends, give you some income, and provide some safety while the equities markets are having a bad year, if that's the case. And so that, in theory, sounds good. It sounds like it would make sense. The problem is, and it does, until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it all falls apart. This has been white papered to death, especially over the past 20 years, because it's like that middle ground, like it's the middle of the battery that Matt's talking about, that the problem with that, among other things, is that it's like undiagnosable. Things aren't ever really that bad, and they're not ever really that good. And so you get stuck in this no man's land of how are things going? Well, they're not going bad enough for me to feel like I have to make a change.
Yeah.
They're also never going well enough to accomplish the compounding interest, 25-year quadrupling, 5Xing, 10Xing your money. Neither one of those is the case. And so you're stuck in this limbo, not only with a limbo portfolio, but also a limbo of psychology. Nothing is good or bad enough to either be excited or to be making changes. So you're just kind of stuck. Mm-hmm. And when you're just kind of stuck in the middle for a long time, guess what you don't get? Really exciting compounding interest. And so that's all that to say, the story that Matt's telling, this is critical. And I want to make sure our listeners get this. But I think that context, that backdrop, the slow and steady wins the race sort of plain vanilla, just stay the course, I promise, just ride it out, while you're paying that guy a big fee to tell you that every single year over year over year. There's a better way.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the power of inertia, doing the same thing because that's what you've always done.
Yep.
And to Aaron's point, those portfolios where your safe money is coming from, bond allocations, or you just have a feeling in your gut like it's not terrible, but it's also not great. And someone asks you like, hey, who do you use for, do you have like a financial person? And you're like, yeah, I do. Yeah. But you're not going to tell them who it is, right? You're not going to say, but you need to go see them. Why? Probably because you have like a middle of the road thing that's not great, but it's not terrible. And you're kind of like, well, I'm doing it because I've always done it. And it doesn't have to be that way. If you'd like to go through our process and see, number one, is your portfolio, does it have the right level of polarization, or is it just kind of a middle of the road trying to do everything well portfolio? We'll tell you that. No obligation. It's part of our second opinion service. And we can tell you, we can show you what it looks like to have your aggressive money be aggressive and your safe money be way less risky. Mm-hmm. And we would prefer it to not ever be able to go backwards, outpace inflation, and have some liquidity to it. That's kind of our tenets for safe money. Call our number, 770-741-0120, and we can go through that with you. It's part of our free second opinion service.
It's all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. Again, that number, 770-741-0120. We have a representative standing by right now and throughout the weekend to talk to you. Even if you need to call, hang up, and call back first thing of next week when you have a couple of more minutes to talk, it's perfectly acceptable. But if it's on your mind, we invite you to call right now, 770-741-0120. Always get more at retireatlradio.com. And we were talking before we got started this weekend how pensions come into play with this entire conversation.
That's right, because in our little example there, just to reiterate it, $2 million portfolio earning 6% in 25 years has less money than $1 million portfolio earning 9%. Mm-hmm. And then we bury $1 million in the backyard, right? So we still have $2 million. We just have $1 million of it buried in the backyard and $1 million of it a little bit riskier than the $2 million. And we end up with more money. Well, what if we didn't bury the money in the backyard? Like what if we actually did something with that $1 million that did earn a rate of return? It could still be not exposed to losses in the market. We don't actually have to dig a hole in the backyard and bury dollars in a treasure box.
Don't do that. That's just an example.
But if you did, you could still win with polarization. That's the whole point.
Right.
But we don't actually have to do that. And so I asked the audience, this came out of the educational event where we were locked out of the room and we're sitting on park benches outside watching the sunset. I had to get creative with our stories and how we told this retirement tale. What if we didn't bury it in the backyard? What if we took $1 million of the $2 million and instead of just burying it, we bought a pension, right? A pension is always going to pay you your monthly or your annual income until you die. And if you go out to the private market and get like a guaranteed annuity, which is basically a pension, you can get one that will pay for both you and your spouse as long as one of you's alive.
Okay, I want to stop you right there because you're talking about a pension here. How is a pension available to somebody that's not in the public sector? Or wait, reverse that. A pension available to federal employees. Mm-hmm. Yep. So how can that be available to me? I don't work for the government. I'm not a teacher.
Right. So we ask all the time, like, hey, who wants a pension? And every single person in the room raises their hand. Like, oh, I wish I had a pension.
Those days are in the past.
Yeah. I wish I had a pension.
Yeah. My grandfather had one. Last person I knew, and now teachers now, but last person I knew that had one that worked just a public sector job. Yeah. It was.
Same. My grandpa as well. And there's still people that do have pensions here today. A lot of them are being frozen or changed or all that. But most people have a 401k or something like that, a SEP or a solo or any of those things, a 403B. And they're like, I wish I had a pension. And it's like, well, actually, you might have the better of the two options because in your 401k, you have the ability to take more risk. And if you take advantage of that 401k for 20 or 30 years, you will have a much larger pile of money in that 401k if you're diligent with saving than you would in like a pension plan. But once you do have that large pile of dollars, you can go out and buy your own pension. Like anybody can. If you got a 401k or an IRA, typically it's done with an IRA. If you have an IRA, you can go out to the public sector. You can go out to the marketplace and you can buy a pension. All that is an annuity. Mm-hmm. Like that's literally what it is. So we ask everybody who wants a pension, everyone raises their hand. And then I say, and who wants an annuity? And all the hands go down. And it's funny how that works.
Yeah, the irony is a lot of the pensions out there that you've heard of, that your grandpa had or that whoever had, that neighbor that you're jealous of because they have a pension, more times than not, I can't say every single time, but more times than not, all that they have is an employer-sponsored benefit that your employer, if you're that person, is contributing to this pension plan over the period of your career, like every month for a long time. And then when you reach the age of retirement and you want to actually get your pension, they go and they take those dollars they've been accumulating for the past 30 years and they buy an annuity with a guaranteed income rider.
Turns it into an annuity.
So whenever we say this isn't like, a unique kind of backdoor way to get a pension, this isn't some kind of like, well, they're calling it a pension, but it's really an annuity. No, this is literally, what you would get if you had a pension that your company that you work for was contributing to for the past 30 years.
All pensions are annuities. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. We're kind of bumping up against it. So, give me the short version, the Cliff Notes version. You said, who wants a pension? Everybody said yes.
Yep.
Who wants an annuity? Everybody says no. Why are people saying no? Why is there a negative stigma on annuities?
This is where the education comes in. This is where we try really hard. Look, we aren't incented. We don't care, honestly, if you end up getting an annuity or not. What we are more interested than anything is for you to know what all your options are and for you to know the truth, the pros and cons. And there are pros and cons on both sides of all these things so that you can make the best decision possible. And so these events that we do are educational because here's the problem, Mark, to answer your question, there's a lot of misinformation. Mm-hmm. And if there are, and I'm going to overgeneralize here, if there are 10 flavors of annuities, I wouldn't even offer 8 of them to you if you begged me to. Yeah. So there is bad press for a good reason. And Some of these products have been sold and oversold and sold by people who call themselves, I'm using air quotes, advisors, but really they're just salespeople who have found a financial investment product. They're not actual advisors. They're not CFPs, et cetera. And so the reality is that they have been mismarketed or explained incorrectly. People get them in those realities. And then 2 or 3 or 5 years later, they're like, I wish I never would have bought this thing. Well, a good advisor would have told you from day one, that's not the one you should have had. And so we deal with that all the time. And even still, sometimes people are just like, hey, listen, I want to talk with you. I want to work with you. And I do not want an annuity. We're like, that's great. But next time someone that says, do you want a pension? Just don't raise your hand.
And at the same time, I had one of those conversations last week. Someone came in and they said, hey, I want to work with you. I like you guys, heard you on the radio for a long time, but I don't want an annuity. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, let me explain our philosophy on polarization.
Yep.
And we go through the philosophy on polarization. And I'm like, and by the way, for your safe money, here are your 3 options. This is what we would use. This is our philosophy on the safe money component of your dollars. Here are the things that fit into that bucket. At the end of that conversation, the guy looks at me and he goes, well, I came in here not wanting an annuity and now I want an annuity. And I'm like, again, it doesn't matter. Like, you get to choose what you end up wanting. Our goal is not to put you into a product. Our goal is to show you what exists, arm you rather with the information. We want to arm you with enough information and education so that you can make an educated decision with your dollars that you've worked hard for. And at the end of our process that we've built, that's where people end up. They end up armed with enough information and enough education to make a good decision with their dollars. And if you want to participate in that process, just give us a call, 770-741-0120.
Just real quick, I think a lot of people are under the incorrect assumption that it's either or. Either I've got to have a portfolio that can grow over time, or I've got to buy an annuity and it's boring. I got to trade my money for a small little monthly paycheck, and I don't want to do that. So I think the point of polarity is that it's not either or. Combining both is a major problem solver for you.
We did get a call a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, from a gentleman that said, hey, I like what you say. And we might have been talking about the same guy, but he was so funny. He's like, I need some help with my taxes and some investments. But if you even mention the word annuities, I'm walking out of the door. So people have real feelings about them. But hey, listen, what's going to fit your overall plan? We invite you to reach out to the team at the Vincent Financial Group. That initial consultation, no cost, no obligation. 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120. We have a team member standing by right now to talk to you, or we invite you to spend some time at retireatlradio.com.
Insurance products are offered through the Insurance Business Advanced Planning Group. Vincent Financial Group is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Advanced Planning Group are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Advanced Planning Group and IPW are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be constructed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Vincent Financial Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained by sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Vincent Financial Group. This podcast is a paid placement.